Welcome to Between Sundays, a podcast where we talk about and we start conversations. We have conversations that we hope you go on to continue having. And I've got with me some very special people. Of course, I've got Maxine Higgins, my co-host, but we have with us some special guests. Some of you remember, and I'll introduce to some of you for the first time, my wife, Sylvana.
Hello.
And we've got with us also Phil Higgins. And Phil, we've heard so much about the man, the myth, the legend, Phil, through his wife, Maxine. And I'm so excited that you actually decided to come on the podcast with us today. So thank you. Now, we were sitting around and Max and I were talking and we thought to ourselves, we've kind of touched on the topic of marriage in some of the other episodes, but we never actually did an episode on marriage. And so we were like, let's do it. Let's talk about it. And I myself, my wife and I, we've been married for eight and a half years now. And Phil, you guys have been married for 6.5, 7 years. And so there's some fun things we've experienced. There's some not so fun things we've experienced. And so we got to this place where we want to talk about it. So marriage, let's talk about it.
Living 8.5 years, 6.5 years. Come on, that's cute. I've been married 37 years. Today is Pastor Mike Takeover. Living between Sundays. All right, so marriage. We want to talk about marriage, and honestly, being married 6.5, 7 years, or 8.5 years. That's, in today's world, that's awesome. Okay, but in real world, y'all just getting started. I mean, you guys hadn't even hit the 7-year itch yet, and that's a thing people talk about. And you guys are maybe just past that. It is one of those things where marriage is something that when you sign up for this, it's a lifetime if you do it right. And so I'm gonna give a little perspective to this, but I want to start, frankly. Okay, let me be honest for everybody out there that doesn't know me. I don't do a lot of counseling anymore. I use the phrase that people often need therapy to get over my counseling because I'm very direct with the way I counsel. It's not always the healthiest thing. And so, but when I did marital counseling, I would always start here. So I want to start with this. I want to start with, tell me this story. Tell me how you met. And then tell me, I'm curious, what did you fall in love with when you first started dating? So let's go with the youngest ones first. Well, you're the youngest, shortest marriage. What am I going to do? Let's go over here first. Let's go here first. Let's talk to Maxine and Phil. Tell me how you met, and then each of you separately, what do you think it was that you ultimately said, I think I love this person? Describe that.
This is so sweet. Do you want to say how we met?
Ah, you got it.
Okay, so we met in college. We went our freshman year of college at Northeastern, and we were actually in very similar circles, but did not know each other. Like, actually, my closest friends were also your closest friends. We just, for some reason, never crossed paths, which was weird. So we met our second semester. Well, you still saw me before.
Yeah, I saw you getting orange juice at the calf.
Yeah, and he claims that we met a bunch of times before. The time I remember him was at the library.
Yeah.
And because he was with my friends, and so I introduced myself, and then he yelled at me.
Yeah. I was like, cool, how do you not remember me? Like, I was some man on campus, I was a football player,
Yeah, I'd never seen him before. But
ego shot.
yeah, but then I saw him again at the CAF, and I was actually with my roommate. And she's like, and he came by, he just like waved, kept walking, and she's like, oh, he's cute. And I was like, oh, really? And I then was like, oh, he is cute. I was like, okay, mental note taken. And then I saw you again at the CAF. Food is very central, clearly. We talk about food a lot, but we were at the CAF again, and he was there by himself very early in the morning, and I had something. So I came in, and I was like, oh, that's that guy that I've kind of said hi to here and there. Let me sit down and like just have a conversation. And I sat down and had a conversation and realized that he had such a thick drawl at the time that I understood nothing of what he said. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I don't know what he said. He was also eating maybe cereal or something.
Yeah,
His mouth was full. I don't know. And then he wouldn't look at me. He was staring at, like, I don't know if football was on or something, but I was like, so how you doing? And he was like, I'm like, okay.
You say drawl, southern drawl?
Yeah, it was bad.
Because your family's
My
from
family from Kentucky. Have had over the years how to refine with my words. I'm still not that great, but you know.
Yeah. So it was a rough little first conversation that I thought, and so I like kind of got out of there. I was like, this is awkward. Let me just. But by the time I got home, he had already messaged me on like Facebook or something, super eloquent, like, "Oh, hey, beautiful! What a great morning that was. Loved our chat." Da, da, da. And I'm like,
We had different experiences.
"We had different experiences."
I thought I was killing it.
This is very
The end
strange.
result says you were
right?
So-
Yeah, it was very strange. So yeah, that's how we met. And then we just like hung out. I think the first time we came over was with my friend, like my roommates, and we watched music videos and danced and ate pizza.
Ate a whole pizza.
Mm-hmm.
A piece.
Yeah, it's a piece. I ate my own pizza.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And then that's how we connected. And I don't know that, I think I've said this before, I don't know that I thought that he was going to be like my person then, because we were just very two different worlds. Like football player in that space and just, you know, a lot. And then I was kind of like the academic kid, like whatever. I think I was pretty into all the social stuff as well when you met me. But we just had different worlds. And so I was like, oh, fun time. Not
as
long
best
time.
as you can remember, and I know you don't think about this all the time, and nobody will ever ask you this question other than me. But as best as you can remember, tell me the moment you went, oh, this might be the one. I'm going to make you do it first, then we're going to have him do that.
Okay. Man, I feel like it was like lots of little moments. I think I don't know if I remember an exact like day time. This is where like it all hit, but it's the feeling that I always talk about of like complete comfort. Like there was no one. I realized very early on, like right in the beginning, I didn't have to pretend to like be somebody else, or like I wasn't trying to impress him. Like of course you want to be like your best self or whatever, but I didn't feel the need to like overly like figure out like who does he want me to be and try to get him, or like I just felt me, like with everything, with like I didn't feel like my hair had to always be done, like I didn't have to have a ton of makeup on, and I was just like, this is who I am. Like first time we hung out I was wearing sweatpants, and like it was just very chill from the beginning. And that to this day I think is my favorite thing about you too, like that feeling of like I can bring all of myself, like this is the only person who has seen me in every single stage. And it was like that from the beginning. Like it didn't take time to get there. It was just like that. So
Now, again, there's not going to be, probably for anybody, there's not going to be a moment, a time, a date kind of thing. In my case, it was, we dated a long time. Tina and I dated a long time. But I remember realizing if I keep dating her, I'm going to marry her. So I had to make a decision. And so I'm looking for what tell me, maybe you do have a moment. I don't know.
Let's see here. I mean, I don't know about a moment, but it was definitely like a culmination of just like, so, you know, prior to meeting Max, like I was just personally, I was just a football player. I went to school to play football.
Right.
You know? And when I met Max, like she exposed me to a lot more different things, and I was like, you know, I'm out here. I never, you know, shamefully, I think I read one book in high school, you know? And then I meet Max, and they're all about the academics, and it's just the whole atmosphere of Northeastern, right? Like you get shamed if you haven't done the reading, you know? You know, so it's like, so she was a part of all that, and then all of a sudden it was like, you know, I'm reading books, I'm educating myself, I'm thriving in the environment, and I'm like, maybe this woman is good for me, you know? Like it's a whole nother side. It's exciting, you know, and she hasn't stopped, so that's kind of what it was. It's just like I feel like she pushes me, which is good, and then rough sometimes too, you know?
Right.
You know, but.
All right. So I'm curious, what made you go buy the ring?
That's interesting. Cause she told me to.
That's
No
awesome.
shame.
No, I made Tina pick hers out.
Yeah, she
So-
told me, and she picked it out. Yeah,
So good.
Yeah, she told me to. I was just like, all right.
That's awesome. Somehow, for any of you that don't know Maxine, this makes perfect sense. So-
well, I will say, so like a little part of this is Phil and I dated all through college. So we were together for 5 years, and then we broke up for 5 years, and we went completely separate ways. Like no contact, like just we left. What was I going to say? I forgot completely. Oh, so when we got back together, it was really intentional.
Yeah.
Like when he came back in, I was kind of like,
Yep.
are we in this or we not?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm in this. And I'm like, okay. So it was understood if we're coming back together, like let's make
Interesting.
sure this is what we want because we're playing for long term, not just like, another good time.
I love, and I'd like to point this out. I think this is important with marriage because I love what you just did there. Because the same thing that happened with Tina and I when I stopped and said, if I keep dating her, I'm going to have to marry her. In the end, people have come to me and said, I think I want to marry this person. And I'll say to them, feelings are not the issue. It's a decision. And it's a decision of the will that you have to make every day. So you came to, there is the romance, there's the dancing, there's the pizza, there's always pizza involved. There's all of that, right? But there's also this moment where you're just saying, are we in this? And there is a logical, decided moment. I think that's important. So having done that, let's come over here. Tell me about when you guys met and how that went, and let's get to the moments.
Okay, well, I guess I'm usually the one to tell this story because it's sort of my perspective. Um, but we worked together. I had just started a few months prior at my first job ever. I was 17, going on 18, and it's like a Panera but locally owned in Delaware. And so it's very early morning shifts. At least for me, I'm not really a morning person. And so I got there one day for my shift, and this was like the second or third day that Theo had been working there, and he had told me his name before. I didn't remember it. And so he's in the way of where I need to sign in or, start the day. And I'm just like, what is his name? Like, I just want to clock in. I don't remember. And so he's just minding his own business, putting on ChapStick, just totally oblivious to me being there. And finally, I was like, move over, Mr. ChapStick. And that was the first thing I ever said to him. And yeah, that's how we met. It's me being rude.
What I got out of that, she was checking out my lips.
That's
So that's a win. That's a win as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so that's how we met, and we were friends for a while, about like a year and a half before we started dating. It would have been less time if you had a say in it.
Yeah, we probably knew each other for 3 or 4 months, I think, the first time I asked you out.
Probably. It was
And
like
she turned me down pretty quickly. It was more of a, she was getting ready to leave for college. She was getting ready to go away to college, rather,
Yeah.
because you were already at community college,
Yeah.
getting general education stuff taken care of. She was like, I don't really want to do a long distance relationship. I don't want to get into all that. So I was like, all right, cool. The confusing thing for me was, I can tell you feeling me. Like I can tell there's some chemistry there, right? And I knew it. And so after the first time I asked her out and she said no, I was like, okay. So I backed off a little bit, but she didn't back off. And so then, a few months later, I asked her out again. And she's like, no, I'm just, I'm still planning on leaving and this and that. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, what the heck is this? Like, what are we doing here? What is this all about? And of course, we were babies. Like I said, at the time I was 17, she was 19, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
We met when I was 16. Started dating when I was 17, about to turn 18. But I think one of the things that attracted me to her was how happy-go-lucky she was. Like, she was just easy to be around, easy to talk to, easy to laugh with. And those of you that know my personality, I think I'm relatively easy to talk to, but I think I can also be intense in some ways where she like balanced me out. Like she just always brought out the laughter. There are a few people in my life who every time I'm around them make me feel like 15-year-old Theo again, who will just be a stupid high schooler laughing at dumb stuff. And she was one of those people for me that in a new environment, we had just moved to that town, by the way. So I didn't have church family at the time. I didn't have the friend group I had, left behind, a youth group and things like that. Everything was new. And being a homeschool kid, I was somewhat used to that. Every environment I was walking in was new. So it wasn't like I was scared or worried or anything like that. But it was just nice to find somebody that instantly connected with and laughed with. And so that was the first drawing point for me.
Yeah, I don't think I could like even name a period of time where between we met and we like knew each other. Like
Yeah.
it was just almost immediate where we were having lunch breaks together. I was extending my lunch break.
See, this is how I knew she was feeling me, right? She was purposefully going back from her lunch break like 15, 20 minutes late just so she could extend and hang out with me. Then she's like, hey, I know you're new to town. Why don't you come to my church? Why don't you come? So she's like inviting me into all her little
I'm
friend
being a good
circles.
Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm leading you to the Lord.
We call this evangelistic dating. It's a good idea.
Yes, that's kind of our meeting story in a nutshell.
So tell me this. When did you decide? I think this might be the one. I'll have you go first.
Oh boy. You do not want me to go first.
15-minute lunch break.
No, I don't know exactly that there was like a moment. We dated 4 years before, like almost to the day, 4 years before our wedding day. So, I don't exactly remember how far into dating it was, but there's a specific moment that pops out in my brain where there was a family gathering at your house. You'd still lived like in the same town as me. And so there was your extended family there, and I'm hanging out, and everyone's just busy sitting in the living room, and you come in and you asked your grandma, "Can I make you something for breakfast?" And I don't know why that sticks out to me, but I was just like, "Oh, he's going to take care of me." Like
Mhm.
everyone's just worried about themselves, not in a bad way. They're just sitting and enjoying their time, and here's Theo asking his grandma if she wants breakfast. I just thought it was so sweet. And so I don't know. I just felt like maybe not a lot of young men would think to ask, does my grandma want something to eat? So I just thought it was really sweet.
Well, I, on the other hand, I had that this could be the one moment when she finally said yes to dating me. We were dating for like 2 months, maybe. So it was really early in. Never forget, we had just left, and it wasn't like a heavy, like crazy date. It was just a date. We went out and grabbed some, quick lunch or dinner or something. And I came back home, and she just pulled off, just left. And I looked at my older sister, and I said, I'm going to marry that girl. This is 17-year-old Theo. And she was like, you just started dating her. Like, chill out. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I'm going to marry that girl. She was like, okay. And, so I kind of made that decision back then at that moment. And I can't tell you that it was, a specific thing. It was just all the things of, again, easy to talk to, easy to laugh with. Obviously, I knew she loved the Lord, and all those things were, all the theological things we were in sync with. But it was just
You
kind of like you
unpacked
said.
that at the time, the theological side.
Yes. So I got to back up. My parents were very much you don't date just for the heck of dating. They weren't you marry on the second date, or you don't date unless you know you're going to marry that person. That's not it. It's just they're like, we're not going to waste time. We're not going to waste emotions, things like that. So when you start dating someone, when you start seeing, hey, there's some deep rooted theological things here that are off, they're like, if it looks like that heart's not changing, like just move on, right? And so through being her friend for the first year and a half, because she wouldn't be my girlfriend for the first year and a half, I figured out some of those theological things, right? Going to church together, being in the same friend groups. I watch her interact with her friends, watch her interact with her family, all that kind of stuff. So by the time we actually started dating, I mean, I had already been putting my checklist together through watching her for that first year and a half. So then once we started dating, and I'm like, oh, I like spending time with her on this level. In fact, I remember we were on our way back from the beach one time. We lived in Delaware. And so Delaware, you're almost at any point in Delaware, you're probably 30, 40 minutes from the beach tops. And we were on our way back from the beach, and we're driving, and it's silent. And I just look over and I say, I like you. And she was like, okay,
like, good for you.
thanks. And I was like, no, like, I actually like spending time with you. We're just sitting here silent in the car. I don't even think music was playing. And I was like, and I'm enjoying my time here with you. And so it was little moments like that it was like, I could do this the rest of my life. Like that, I could do that.
So what made you go buy the ring?
Probably 17-year-old Theo that says I'm going to marry that girl. It was set in my brain, unless something unraveling, unless I find out something that is, again, theologically, she's a satanic worshiper or something, something crazy like that. at that point, it was set for me. And I grew up with a father who was very, kind of stoic and
Mhm.
just you make a decision, you work for it, you do this, you do that, and it's just A plus B equals C. Simple, right? And so for me, I found my A plus B equals C. I found this person. I would rather do life with her, with whatever marriage has to offer, than to pass up on this for maybe I can find someone that's
Right.
this or that. I'd rather I'd rather take my chances with this because again, easy to laugh with, easy to hang out with, even in silence. I'm happy. So it's like, go buy the ring. What are we waiting for? Um, totally different story. But first time I asked her dad for her hand in marriage, he actually said no. And oh yeah,
Well,
because
there's a reason for that. It's
I was
because
young and broke.
well, that
Was it you?
I was still in college.
different than anybody else would date.
Yeah. Well, also, my parents got married at 30, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But here we are, 20 and 22, like, okay, we're ready. And he's like, no, you're not. And so that was, yeah, a lot of it.
And to be fair, I look back at it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I see what he was talking about. We were very young. She was still finishing up college, all these things.
The song "Rude."
That was the theme song. I'm not kidding.
Every time it played, he's like, I'm going to play this for your dad. Okay.
It came out the same year.
Yeah.
So I swear to you, every time it came on, I told Sylvana, this is our song now. This is our song. But yeah, no, it only took about 8-9 months for her dad and her mom to come around and, like, okay, we see it. Like, y'all are going to be okay, even though you're young. So it wasn't even a full year before we were engaged.
All right, let's take this another route. We got the stories, we got all the ushy gushy out, right? And by the way, let me just say something. Let me speak to the elephant in the room. When Tina first walked across the dance floor and I saw her, I often describe it as I looked at her and went, because she was just, we got to take that didn't hit our stories because we are a church podcast. And so we don't talk about those things that much. That kind of attraction has to be there from the beginning. Let me say that. Let me just say that and that was part of what happened in all of our cases. Usually the guys that happens first and then the girls later on going, yeah, I can do. And so at any rate, so I just want to get that out there. Okay. I want to go somewhere else with this though, which is your first fight. And I'll lay the groundwork for this because I can remember the first fight I remember. Let me say it that way. Tina and I were dating. We'd been dating for a while. We went on a trip with a youth group and we went canoeing. And I learned in that fight, we fought the whole time because she was afraid I was going to tip us over. What I learned in that moment was how she deals with those kind of stressful, frightening situations and how I have to get through it because my tendency is not to argue during those moments. My tendency is to get quieter and slower and just be in charge of the moment. Where she was wanting to lead, and I'm like, you. First of all, she's in front, and in a canoe, I don't know if you've ever done a canoe, but you don't drive the canoe from the front; you drive it from the back, and so, but us working that out was actually educational for us. But we argued the entire. It was a 3-hour argument, so it was, and it really wasn't about anything other than she didn't want to fall in the water. So, but I remember that, but I remember learning a lot from it. And intentionally taking it and saying, okay, this is the way we're going to have to deal with situations like this going forward and understanding that. I don't mean to take the romance out of mine and Tina's relationship, which I do a lot, but I was very intentional about a lot of things. So tell me about your first fight. What'd you learn from it? Where'd it go? And where do I want to start here? Let's go back over here. The first one you remember, and I don't want to reignite it, by the way.
Yeah.
No.
No.
My brain wants to go. I mean, I know we were together in college, like a freshman year, but I don't really remember that. My brain is jumping a lot to when we first started dating again,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay.
like when he came back. And so, I think for a little bit for context, I was not Christian when we started dating
Yeah.
as 18-year-olds.
Yep.
And I was a hothead.
Yes. Yeah. It was a lot of fights. That's how we can.
That's why I can't remember.
There's a
Like
lot of fights.
We fought a lot.
We
to
were
be
very
fair.
different, and there were a lot of fights.
Yes. And I think a lot of that came from we were just very different people, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, our backgrounds are different and we're coming from different spaces, but also the way we communicated was completely different in
Yep.
that I came from a family that was super vocal. So like anything bothers you, you like say it all out. Like we're gonna battle this out, right? And then you're okay the next day because you said everything you needed to say. And then I think you came from family that you want to explain a little bit.
Well, it was a little bit of both. So it's like my parents argued a lot, but then, um, I don't know, they were fine. But I think I like kind of avoided the conflict because I saw so much argument.
So he'd like shut.
So I just shut down. I need a little time to calm down and to think things through.
Yeah, so that does not go well. Like
Yeah.
when I want to deal with a situation and he wants to shut down, and that would get me angrier. And like that's all I remember of college. Like we spent a lot of time in that cycle. I feel like in college, not healthy.
Yeah, yeah.
But we got back together, and 5 years later, or whatever, I'm all of a sudden a Christian, and that like not just like a Christian, like oh Jesus, but like hi, I'm sold out for Christ over here,
Yeah.
completely different person.
Yep.
And he didn't trust it.
Nah, man, I thought it was a front. I was like, look, this shoe about to drop. Like I gotta keep my guard up.
Yeah. So for those first 6 months, we were getting to know each other again, and like the heart was there. Like I never stopped
Yeah.
loving him. I don't think he ever stopped loving me either. But the tension was, and I didn't know it at the time, but the tension I think was he didn't believe that I was who I was like
Yeah,
showing to be because
exactly.
like, and he would like purposely try to like push my button.
I wasn't trying to,
Yes,
but
you
I was
were.
just like,
Yes, you were.
I just testing a little bit, see if it was the old vaccine was gonna come out.
And I just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why? And then he's just like, and I'm like, why? Like, what are you doing this for? I don't understand. And like, that was the bulk of our, like, those 6 months trying to get to know each other
Yep.
before becoming boyfriend and girlfriend again. Cause he was like, I don't believe that this is who you are.
Yeah. Yep. So that was a lot of arguments, but we also the biggest. So I think the biggest argument we had was around finances when we
Yeah.
first got married.
Yeah.
Because we were again coming from two separate situations.
Mhm.
She had graduated with college debt, and she was like trying to pay it off. Like, look, nothing else is important. This is what I have to do.
Mhm.
And I came from the other side where I graduated full scholarship. Like I came out of school making good money, so I was investing. I was buying real estate. I was index funds, all this stuff, and I'm like, we got to keep going this way. And she's like, no, I need to keep going this way. And then, so we just like clashed for like 6 months, just like which way to go, combining those finances. Which is probably, when you're young, you don't have any money or anything like that. So it's like, it doesn't matter. You just,
Yeah.
right, we're just gonna split this piece of bread. But,
Yeah.
but
No,
we
that
got
was-
married at 30,
Mhm.
31.
Yeah.
So we had lived the whole, like I said, another life before that, prior. But yeah, I think that was our biggest fight because it took us 6 months to get on the same page.
Mhm.
In general, the thing that couples fight about most is money, sex, and children.
Mm.
So those are the top three.
Yep.
So once you
Yep, sounds.
Yeah.
so
Yep.
if you deal with those three, you pretty much got it
The
together.
crazy thing though is Phil and I had the same goal.
Goal. Yep.
We had the
Yep,
same
always the
exact
same goal.
destination, and like we
Yeah.
were very intentional. I think coming back, like we were like, okay, if we're gonna get married, let's talk about all of the
Yep.
things.
So we
And
did the book.
We did the book, and like went through every single question and trying to get through like, okay, who is this person? What does this actually look like? So we were on the same page about what we wanted to do. Two different ways of
We're
getting
getting there.
Right.
Absolutely.
and that was for me personally, trying to let go of like all the stuff, like how I grew up about like, whatever. And then also like as a woman, I got checked by God, like, you're not submitting in a way, but like, and it's looking like, okay, you're not trusting him, but really you're not trusting me. Like, this is the husband I gave you and you're not trusting him, which made no sense because he was making all this money and he was doing the right things, but it was just like, again, two different
Yeah,
spaces.
two different
And
spaces.
I mean, we worked it out
Yeah.
great. And
Yeah.
it came out
Yeah.
great.
Came out great. So.
But that was the tension there. But yeah.
So your first fight that you remember?
First one that I remember, we were dating, and she was away at college. She'd actually left for Liberty University,
Mhm.
and this is the one that always pops in my brain when I remember getting on. We were on Skype. For those of you that remember Skype, we were on Skype, and I remember getting off thinking like, "Oh, we just had our first argument." And it was silly now to think about it because I really don't care that much. But we were talking about bathing suits. That's what it
Mhm.
was. Talking about bathing suits.
Mhm.
I
And
thought that's what you were gonna bring up when you said that.
yeah, and so I remember, so when I was younger, I wasn't a huge fan of two-piece bikinis. In my brain, they're just not modest. They're not,
Scandalous woman.
exactly. And part of that, I ain't even gonna lie, was probably insecurities, right? Like, you're away from me around how many college guys? No, I don't want you showing any of your body. In fact, why don't you just put on a full-on Middle Eastern, like,
A whole
only show your
burqa.
eyes? Yeah. Right? So some of
Wear
that was-
sunglasses.
Which
Some
is
of-
really wrong because she's Egyptian.
Yeah.
So you
Follow your culture.
So no doubt insecurity was fueling some of that argument and immaturity. Because like I said, the older I've got, the more I'm like, I really don't care about that stuff. It's not a huge deal to me. But I can remember we had this argument and she's like, I don't really see the big deal behind it. And I'm saying, I'm not gonna tell you what you can and can't wear because I don't want to be that kind of guy and I don't want to grow to be that kind of husband of like, you will do this, you won't do this. I was like, but I do want you to like see my point of view, where I'm coming from. I want you to want to do what I want you to do. And so we're going back and forth on that whole conversation. And man, I remember one of the things I remember noting after we got off the call was that neither one of us were like, we weren't like bitterly angry at the other person, right? And I heard you say this later on after we got married, came out here to New Life. You articulated it so well. You said, you shouldn't fight to win. You should fight to understand. And I say that whenever I go through premarital with other couples, that's always a staple in there when it comes to conflict is like, hey, when you're fighting, you should have, I call them rules of engagement. I say in every contact sport, there's a way that you're allowed to hit and a way that you're not allowed to hit, right? And so I realized even back then, we were starting to form some of those. Like, these are things we don't do in arguments. Like, we're not going to be attacking each other's character. We're not going to be yelling at each other, and not going to be, now that we're married, not going to be throwing dishes and flipping tables. And, we're not going to be doing that kind of stuff. And I realized even back then, in that silly argument over bikinis or one piece or whatever, some of those things were starting to form. But that was the memory that comes back to mind that I can remember, our first argument.
Yeah, I'm bad at remembering, so that probably was.
How did you react to that?
Honestly, I didn't mind changing. Like, I wore one pieces and it wasn't like, oh, I gotta respect my boyfriend. Like, it just did. And
This
that
is
was
what
like
Theo would
something,
prefer, and I don't mind.
yeah, it was something easy for me to change. And there have been things that have not been easy to change. But for me, that was not like a high priority issue. I was like, okay, like it really bothers him. Okay,
Yeah.
like that's
And
fine.
with Tina and I, it's totally weird, and I always get people don't like me because of this. I didn't like you. You're gonna love this. I didn't like sweatpants. I was like, I don't do that. So she, to this day, I don't think she owns sweatpants.
So hold on.
You know,
You don't mind pants. What was the big deal about sweatpants?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Like,
Out
you
and
don't-
out sweatpants.
I don't. It was.
It's
This
specifically
is
on
back
women,
in
or
the.
you don't
This
like
is back.
sweatpants in general?
Y'all, this is back in the 80s. So you got to understand, sweatpants back then, the same thing. They weren't like. I don't really know what the issue was, but I didn't like it,
Was it
and
the
so
swishy ones?
she just changed.
The tracksuit swishy ones or the cotton ones?
I don't know.
Oh,
I just
all
didn't
the
like
bands.
sweatpants.
All the
So it was
bands.
just weird. I had the one piece issue too for a while until she finally looked at me. She said, "Michael, it has nothing to do with what you're thinking." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I have to get totally undressed to go to the bathroom if I've got a one piece on." And I went, "That makes sense." So, okay, got it. I don't have any more issues. I'm not going to ask any more questions. So, sorry, that's too much information. But here's the deal. You have to understand each other, and you have to know how we fight. Tina and I are the opposite of you guys. I'm the one that I want it all talked out. I want to battle it out. Then we'll go to bed. Tina needs to chill and process. So we're the opposite that way. But I think that you do have to create, you used the phrase, these ground rules, these boundaries for fighting. You got to know what not to hit. Okay. Case in point, I don't ever, and I don't want this to come across wrong, but I don't ever compare Tina to her mother. Now, her mother was a wonderful lady, but her mother was also at times difficult to get along with. And I don't compare Tina to her mother because that's a button. That's a button I don't need to push. Somehow I think everybody has to find those kind of ground rules. And just what would you say to somebody as you're getting married, as you're building this relationship even early on? Make sure you don't finish that sentence for me.
Well, I have to say, before I answer your question, we flipped.
Yeah.
So time has flipped us in that
Yeah.
he is the one who wants to handle everything immediately.
Yeah. I don't like being uncomfortable in my house.
And then I'm the one who needs to process. And so, take that. Okay, ask your question again. I'm sorry.
Make sure you don't.
Oh, make sure you don't. To married couples.
And it can be specific to you guys because it'll help somebody. So, in my case, it was make sure you don't compare her to her mom. And that goes the other way too, because my dad, my birth dad was not my favorite person. So don't compare me to him.
I think for me, the biggest change in terms of how we fought is make sure that I'm not tearing you down. Every point that I have is I want you to see that I'm trying to make us be better.
Yep.
Right. And as opposed to just I'm angry and so I'm spewing all of my hot emotion. I think that's why I take time to process now, because I realize that in just wanting the person to feel every anger that I was feeling, I would just let everything out, and that was counterproductive. And then it left him reeling as well. And I think as a woman, I want, I want to push you to be better, right? To help you to be better, but I never want it to be at the expense of you feeling like you're a crap person all the time.
Right.
And so I need to make sure that even in whatever I'm fighting for, that I still see the best in you, and that I'm saying this because I know that you have it in you, not because I think you can't do it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think for me it would be safe, right? Because if we're in an argument or something like that, I never go to the point where I don't want her to ever feel like she's not safe, because for her, and being married, she's pretty much had single moms raise her and stuff, and I don't want her ever to think that I'm going anywhere, So I need to provide that safety and that parameter in that argument, because I'm not going nowhere, so it's no point even going there.
Let me point something out that just happened here, which is both of you, when we talked about how we met, both of you ladies, you talked about he felt safe, and you talked about he took care of his grandmother. Both of you went immediately to, I feel safe, I feel cared for, I feel cherished is a word I would use. I bet if I dug hard enough, and I would have to dig, because you neither one of you would naturally say it. One of the first times you went, oh yeah, I could do this, she did something that made you feel honored or respected, or I'm the man of this moment. She gave you that kind of an emotion. I think that it's important for people to understand, in general, I realize I'm generalizing. In general, women do have this need to feel protected and cherished, and men do have this need to feel respected, honored, and I mean, the stories are the way they are for a reason. The princess that needs to be rescued, and the prince on the white horse that comes in to save the day. The stories are the way they are for a reason, because we kind of need that to play out that way. And I think when we argue or fight, sometimes we forget that. And so if I gave a don't, it's for exactly what you just said, exactly what the two of you just said. Don't disrespect, and don't make her feel insecure. So at any rate, I'll toss it back over here.
Yeah, that's actually really good, because before I answer your question, what you just said, we've had a few recent arguments where I'm like, I just want to feel like you cherish me. So it's literally that, because he is very direct and he sees, I'm not going to say flaws, but he sees the big picture and where it should go, which is a huge reason why I married him, because I'm very much the butterfly, the bird. I'm like, ooh, let's take the scenic route. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. My emotions are here and there and everywhere. So, yeah, he very much grounds me, and sometimes I don't want it, and sometimes I really need it. So, Um, yeah, it's really interesting that you point that out because in someone who's very driven, it can feel task based where it's like, I really need you to get this done. I really like, I know, like, and it's like Max said, like, it's because I know he sees it in me to get, you know, get these things done and be this person. But if I'm having a hard time or if I'm not completing my part of the deal, let's say where the home needs to be taken care of or, you know, this and that, and I'm just like, well, I want you to cherish me and not just the tasks that I can do or haven't done. So anyway, all that to say, I would say make sure you don't lose sight of why you married that person. Because, yeah, if I'm only thinking about me, and how I feel, then I have a tendency to lash out and be like all about why I feel the way I feel. And I'm feeling hurt by this and that. And the whole purpose, sometimes it takes us an hour and a half to get to the point of like, okay, well, we agree, but we're just arguing in circles now. But the point is there. And I need to understand and remember that I married him because he makes me better, because he sees the big picture, because he grounds us, because he knows where we need to go. And so just don't lose sight of that because then it can become very me and how I feel. And that's where you can like hit below the belt because you're focused on how you feel and this and that hurts you. And not to say those things shouldn't be addressed. You know, if someone is hurting you, you should address it, but just don't forget where the point is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo everything that's already been said. Y'all ever heard the analogy of a man's brain being like waffles and a woman's brain being like spaghetti? And they say like a man's brain, there's these boxes, right? And so like each one has its own space, and woman's brain, like everything connects. And so that's what I find in our relationship, right? So for me, she just said it. We'll be an hour and a half into the conversation, and for me, I'm saying, okay, we're talking about finances, right? And we both agreed that this is how we want to do this thing, and this didn't happen. So like, why didn't it happen? I'm attacking like this happened, right? And she's like,
I didn't
you
do the
yeah,
dishes, so
she's
I'm a
like,
failure.
yeah. And I'm like,
You hate me.
what are you talking about? And so I would say, don't forget, echoing what she just said, don't forget who you married. Don't forget some of the emotional, genetic makeup of the human that's in front of you, right? Because it's really easy for me to think I'm attacking the problem, and she feels like I'm attacking her, right? And I might be saying, well, I'm staying in this little box here. I'm in this box. Let's talk about this box. And then we get hour and a half into the argument conversation, and I say, okay, so what you're saying is you agree with what I just said. You feel like I could have said it better, or you feel like I should have addressed this thing first on the front end. And so if I would have just flipped it, if I would have started with something saying, hey, I really appreciate everything you've been doing for the kids over the last few weeks. Now, can we talk about blah, 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 blah? Whole conversation would have been different. But because I start off with the thing that I want to attack, now she feels attacked. So I would just say, like, don't forget that the person that you married is different than you.
Very intentional and driven men need to make and never, ever tell your wife you have a list, but you need to make a list of things that are not huge. Like, okay, in our world, I need to, as often as possible, check and make sure she has gas in her car, because if I put gas in her car, she feels cherished. We make coffee every morning in a French press. She hates cleaning the French press, so I need to clean the French press. I mean, it's like she'll do every other dish in the house, and the French press will still be sitting there with coffee grounds in it, and I need to make the bed because I'm almost always the last one out, so I need to make the bed. Those three. Now, should I have to do any of that? I guess not. But why would I worry about doing any of that? None of it's hard, and it makes her feel cherished. And so we need to come up with those things. Okay, there are two more journeys I want to take on this, and then we'll just open it up and go anywhere you want to. But I want to take another journey that I always take with couples when I'm sitting down with them. And here's what I want to do. I want to see what happens. Phil, you're retired. The kids are gone. Where are you?
Oh,
He knows exactly.
Look, me and the wife in the RV. We going on bike trips. I'm what else are we doing? The wife is right beside me doing all these things. Like we're going out to eat good food. She's working in some type of, I don't know, whatever she wants to do, and I'm working on any project around the house or whatever.
Where are you?
Where am I?
Yeah.
I'm at home with my
No,
wife.
no. Are you in Maryland?
Oh, am I in Maryland? I'm probably gonna be wherever my kids go.
Okay.
You know?
Now let me pause.
Yes.
Have you guys discussed this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
See, you know how rare that is? So Theo.
No, we have not. Not in detail. Not in detail.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I don't really have a geographical location. I will say that Sylvana likes warm weather.
Mhm.
And so probably somewhere down south-ish. She had mentioned, was it North Carolina or South Carolina?
Yeah, I don't know why North Carolina always comes in my brain. I just think it has a little everything and it's a little warmer. So I'm like,
I don't
there's
really.
mountains, there's beaches, there's good food, there's good cities.
I'm simple in
Mhm.
that I want to find purpose wherever I am. So if I'm a 80-year-old pastor somewhere, if I'm finding purpose in pastoral ministries and things like that, I'm good, right?
The reason I ask this question is, I think that couples don't think end game. You said it properly when you said she's beside me the whole time. But for me it would be, by the way, it's not going to be this. I'm close enough now that I can tell you it's not going to be this. But for me it would have been somewhere down south, probably at least as far south as South Carolina, probably more like Florida, walking every morning, taking long walks on the beach or beside the beach down the boardwalk. That's where I was going to be, because I like warm weather too, and I like to be. I'm more a beach person than a mountain person. I want to visit the mountains. I want to live at the beach. But we had that plan in mind. Now ours is not going to work that way because we're going to be where the kids and grandkids are, and they're here. Yeah, well, yeah, it is working out that way, and I do love it, but it's not going to be what I expected. But here's the point: we had an end goal that involved both of us, and there is no end goal that has either one of us without the other. And I think couples need that, because where both of you are at right now is your kids are about the same age. So you've both got 2 kids at home, and they're little kids. So what you've got to be able to do now is, I'm gonna say this, it is your kids' job to leave. And that's harder when they're younger, and I know especially the moms are sitting here going, oh. But
And the dads.
it's their job.
In this case, it's the dad.
I was getting ready to
Love
say,
my girls,
I'm
man.
counting down.
No, my girl.
Love my girl.
I'm loving being a parent, but I'm also counting down. I used to watch the Cosby Show, and I used to laugh at how the dad would always be like excited when each kid was leaving for college. He's like, "I'll help you pack." And he would always tell him, "You ain't moving back in here, right?" And I'm just like, that's so funny. We have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm like loving every second of it. Love being a father, but also when they go, I'm gonna enjoy having my wife back, having my life back, having my house back. And you're always welcome to come back. But I will.
Here's the problem: they don't come back by themselves. They bring another human that you didn't birth, but now you have to own, and they're beautiful and incredible. So my daughter-in-law is right there. So and then they bring little humans that you have to help develop. So there's all this. They come back with a lot more. But at any rate, I think younger married couples need 2 things, and this is the last one I'm gonna get to. You need that end goal in mind, where we're going to end up, because then there's a dream that you're both working toward. If an RV is involved, then you need to do some financial management in order to get to an RV. And you guys are doing that, I'm sure. If a beach is involved, you got to do some planning to get. You got to get there. But the other thing you got to do is, I got an end goal. I know why I fell in love. I know where I'm going. See where I'm going with this? I know why I fell in love. I know where I'm going. Now, what has to happen in here to make sure that we don't end up? The one thing I've noticed every time I've done counseling with a couple that's in trouble is they sit in front of me and they tell the story. And I literally sit there, it's a little too much information. I literally sit there and go, how in the world did the two of you sleep in the same bed at night and you can't even tell me the same story about what's going on? They're not. They're like passing in the night. And what do you need to do to keep that from happening is the question. And again, I'm going to say this has very, very little to do with intimacy because they're still sleeping in the same bed. This has more to do with communication, more to do with maintaining. So let me throw that question out there, and whoever wants to go first can go first.
I'll start. I grew up a little bit more on Max's side with my family. We talked all the time about everything. My mom had a saying. She would tell my dad, "If something's wrong, you'll be the second to know. I'm gonna tell Jesus about it, and then I'm coming to find you, and I'm gonna tell you about it, right?" And she's just like, we can't attack and fix what we don't talk about, right? I've kind of refined that, and I'll tell couples expectations without communication is a recipe for disaster, right? So I'm always talking about communication. And so, much to my wife's dislike, I'm the one that I'll come and be like, hey, so I've been processing this thing, and like, we don't have to talk about it right now. I just want you to know, like, I think I can articulate how I feel about this thing. And then, like, I'll give her time to process if she needs it, or we can come talk about it right then and there. But I'm the one that I have to talk about it. I've learned over our 8 years together, because I used to just be like, we got to talk about it right now, right now, right now, right now. And she does not like that. I know that. So I've learned to just say, hey, here's the thing I've been thinking about. Do you want to talk about it now? Do you want to talk about it later? But I have to communicate. I can't sleep. I can't think. I can't come here and work well if it's something just churning in my brain that I'm saying, oh, well, got to keep the peace or got to, I, I just got to talk about it.
How do you set that up? How do you make sure there's space? Because you got kids, you're the lead pastor of a large church. How do you make sure there's space for that?
Well, I like that you use the word make, because you have to make the space, right? And so it's real easy, especially after a long day at work, come home, spend some time with the kids, put the kids down. These last couple of hours are the only hours I get. I don't feel like talking. I don't feel like arguing. I don't feel like, but when I think about, like I said, when I locked it down in my brain, why I'm gonna go get this ring, because I'd rather do life with you than without you. And the scary truth is, if I ignore enough of these conversations, I'm gonna either end up doing life without you due to divorce, or we're gonna be in the same house and I'm still doing life without you because we're miles apart emotionally, right? So when I think about that, and somebody might say, "Oh, you're blown that way out of proportion, and now you're having conversations out of fear." Partially, yeah, it is fear. I don't want to lose her emotionally or physically, right?
Fear's not
So,
always bad.
what was that?
Fear's not always bad.
There you go. So that's kind of it for me. I make the space and I make the time. We shared on another podcast. I don't particularly like conflict, right? But over the years, I've learned that if you don't face conflict, bad things happen.
Right.
So, and I'm not willing to let those bad things get a wedge in our marriage. So I make the space. There's been times, sorry.
No, you're
There's been times where we've started a conversation in the morning, and on the drive here to the church, it's still churning in my brain. And so I'll pull up in the parking lot and I'll call her and say, hey, you got a couple minutes to like continue further in this conversation, just because like couldn't just leave it hanging there, couldn't, something else is churning in my brain. I will make the space to have that conversation.
right.
Yeah. You can interrupt me whenever you want, but,
Okay.
I want to say this first because I think one of the things, there's a lot of things about you that I love, babe. But one of the things that I think is very unique to you, because you've always been this way, even when we met at 18, is that he always had a plan. Like, and he had vision. And like that for me, also talking about comfort, but also I felt like I could trust him because he was thinking about things. If he was moving a certain way, it's because I know he thought about it, right? And so as we got older, that's very same thing that I still love about you. I love that you have vision. Where we've had issue is sometimes he will make decisions in his head and assume he's communicated it with me and didn't communicate it. And so like plans will just change and I had no idea. And then he's just used to operating in a way of like,
Just getting it done.
yeah. And 95% of the time, whatever decision he made is the right one.
Yeah.
I just want to be included.
Yeah.
I just want to know that that's happened. And like, I'll give you a really silly example. We were, date. I think it was right before we got engaged, maybe.
Mhm.
What was it? We took that RV trip. We took an RV
Oh
trip.
yeah.
We took an RV trip. And so he's telling me about this trip that's coming up in a couple months or
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah, we're going to drive from Maryland to Florida. And, you know, it's going to be great. We're going to make all these stops with my family. And, you know, it's going to be a train of RVs and da-da. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like so much fun. Da-da. And we're, you know, we had this whole long conversation about it. And he's like, yeah, so if you drive down on Thursday, and I said, me? What? I'm coming?
Yeah, I
Like he
totally
had
forgot. I didn't tell her.
invitation.
Oh,
Like he had
God.
with me.
I was like, look, you go where I go, you know.
there was no, I mean, we're dating. We're not like,
Yeah.
yet, like, you know what I mean? There was no like, oh, of course I'm going. It was like, I found out at that
Totally
moment,
forgot.
made all the plans, right? And so like this little funny thing has repeated itself in other
Yep.
ways too, in bigger
Yeah.
ways of like, okay, well, I didn't know we were making that move, right?
Yeah.
Thank God he's somebody who has head on his shoulders. It's not like something that's gonna like derail us, but it's still about like, hey, if we're in this together, I need you to communicate to me
Mhm.
what you're thinking. And that's been the tug. I have to say you're so much better at it
Oh,
now.
thank you.
So
I
much
tried
better.
Very hard.
But that was a battle for a few years
It was.
in our
It
early
was.
marriage of just that adjustment of like, okay, let's actually you know, talk about this. And then I think, I mean, I don't want to speak for you,
Mm.
but I know like I have very strong ideas too. So how do you take that? My communication to you.
Um, I have strong ideas as far as.
Like I always have a plan too.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah. But the good thing is, like most of the time, so our values are pretty much very, very in line.
Mhm.
So the plan, the end goal is always pretty much the same. It's just a way of getting there.
Right.
And so you know, it's one of those things like when you're married, like you really appreciate the value of a good woman, right? Because the way we think about things is totally different, well, somewhat different than the way women do. And we, you know, when you incorporate the two, things just becomes easier, man. You know, because it just becomes easier. Because the way I do it, I might just like brute force it, you know. But she's like, let's put a little finesse on it, you know. And
Well, it's funny that you say that because that is a big thing too. So like
Yeah.
I tend to operate very relationally, right?
Mhm.
And so if I'm making a decision, this is what we come back down to. If you give me the decision to make, I am thinking about not just that decision for what it is, but how it impacts everyone else in the household.
hmm
Like literally everyone.
And I only think about from A to B, how we get there the fastest or the best route, you
Yeah.
know, but not necessarily
The impact.
the
that it
impact of
have.
it. Yeah.
And so like you'll even again like small things of like, you know, somebody's coming over and I'm like, hey, let's have a snack because I hate showing up somewhere and
And I'm like, why
hungry.
you need a snack?
Why you
And
need a
they all right. They were probably already ate before they came.
Right. And I'm like, no, you need a snack. You need food.
I
So
mean, they
let's
got
go.
yeah, we giving them the house and everything, you know, they in here, but
Yes. Or like things like their family does not wrap gifts or
Oh.
anything. They just like however it came, there it is.
comes in a bag. Just,
Right?
It's wrapped.
It's not. Right? But these, you know, these are things that I'm showing like small examples, but then what happens when they're like bigger examples, right? And bigger things. And then this is where some of those communication things happen. And so like I can feel like you miss me
Yeah.
because you're just trying to get the thing done. Kind of, I guess kind of like what you were saying
Yep.
of like, you're just trying to get to the thing. And I'm like, no, but like, hey, I'm here. I'm a person. I need you to see me as a person too. I'm not just like a little chess piece that you move here when you need something and there, right?
Yep.
So I think for sure communicating, I think for me, I do need to sit for a minute because I can't trust my first feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because my first feeling tends to just lean to anger. I think that's just my core.
Yep.
My core is anger. So I can't trust that. I need to sit for a second and like literally argue it out with myself 1st
Mhm.
and then come back and be like, hey, I'm hurt because you didn't see this thing, or I'm feeling XYZ because of that, or did you not think blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes I literally have to be like, if it were me, I would have done this and this and this. And then you see how, and then he'll be like, oh, yeah,
I
that's
see
probably,
that.
that's probably the better way to do it, you know?
Well, I would love to say that gets better with time, but no. I still remember that to this day. We had just got married, and we would do laundry, and I would fold the towels, and I would watch her unfold the towels to fold them a different way. And I suddenly realized this is important. And so she didn't communicate that to me. I just had to learn that. So even today, though, 37 years later, I'll need to look at Tina because usually it's not a big thing. The big things we have planned out. It's these people are coming over for this. Okay, specific. She'll say, I'm bringing all the small group leaders to the house for dinner. Okay. And that's all she'll say. And I will at some point have to stop her and say, all right, now I need you to sit down. And she'll say, what? You have a vision in your mind of how this is going to go when they get here, what it's going to look like when they walk in, what's going to be here. I need you to walk me through that. I need to know what that means. And so she'll start giving me details because she does have a vision in her mind. And she is in charge of this event, but I'm the one that cooks. And so all right, walk me through this. And to this day, we're 37 years in, we still have to do that. I will say one thing, and because I haven't necessarily heard it out of either one of you, and I don't know the answer. This is one that I don't know the answer. One of the things that Tina and I did intentionally that I absolutely now believe was the right choice, and I would tell any couple to do, is we intentionally took date nights and trips that did not involve our boys. And I did that intentionally, because I need to get her, I really kind of need to get Tina away in order to have the focus just be us. And because she's very focused on everything around her. And that's one thing I love about her, because she sees all the details. In fact, I got to tell you, one of the coolest things was we've always worked together in the church, whether she's paid or not here. We've always worked together. And I can't tell you how many times I've stood on one end of the sanctuary talking and ministering to somebody and look across and see her on the other end of the sanctuary doing the same thing. And just this warmth, of this is what we do. Anyway, so she's very good at that. But we would travel without the kids. And I would tell the kids, the number one human relationship for me is her, because you're going to leave and she's still going to be here. And I always made sure they knew that. Now, in the end, what I learned is I taught them how to now cherish and honor their wives that they have now. And so I don't know that I thought it through that far. I just knew I had to take care of our relationship first. I knew that in our case, that meant we're going to go out to eat because food is important. And we're going to travel, because I've always loved to travel. And so she and I are going to go places, and we're going to go places just the two of us. And I'm going to find, we're fortunate to have family and good close community, so we could do that. So I'm curious, between here and your kids leave and you buy the RV, what are you doing? What are you doing on a regular basis to make sure you make the space? Specifically, give some practicals.
Okay. The short answer.
The answer.
Yeah.
You are dating your wife, right?
Yeah. The short answer, honest answer is not enough. Not enough. That's the short and honest answer. And I could give practical reasons why. That may seem like excuses, but still true. One of them is we're away from family, right? So we don't have we were just talking the other night. Yeah, we were just talking the other night how it's hard to find babysitters that both we know and trust, right? There's a short list of people that I would trust with my kids. We have been blessed, however, to have a job where I can take an afternoon off, where the kids are already in our staff children's ministry. And so there'll be some days that I'll text you and Dave and say, hey, this coming Thursday, I'm going to drop the kids off, and then Syl and I are going to go, DC or Annandale for the afternoon, something like that. And so those things happen, not as much as I wish they did. Most of our us time is 8:05 p.m. when the kids are in bed, because their bedtime is 8 o'clock.
The most glorious moment of the day.
And we'll have a good 2 or 3 hours to watch a show, to hang out, to talk, whatever. That's the most consistent.
But I need to warn you, that's going to go away.
Because they're going to get
As
older.
bedtime.
Yes. Yeah, because bedtimes are going to go away.
Yep.
And so you're going to, I'm sorry, I'm going to go dad now.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to need to figure that out. Maybe you need to make my phone ring sometime and say, can we bring the kids over?
Hey, don't tempt me with a good
time. I know.
Yeah.
But both of you, all your kids they're awesome. Your kids were y'all were at our house Sunday night and get along great with our grandkids. But at any rate, you got to figure that out, because that's going to go away. Because to this day, I will look at my grandchildren and they'll say, why did you do that with her name is, they call her Hami. Halmani is the Korean name for grandmother. So they call her Hami. Why do you do that with Hami? And I look at them, I've looked at my grandchildren and said, because that's my girlfriend.
Mm.
I'll still call her that so that they get the idea. I still date her. So, all right, you guys, your turn. I feel like I've got you on a hot seat right now. So,
I mean, this is our weakest kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And like, we knew it going in.
Yeah.
I mean, we did not go into like having children, kind of not naive, that's the wrong word, but just like, we knew how hard it was.
Yeah.
Like, and
Which
we
is
made
the reason why
decision.
we didn't decide earlier in life too, because we both knew it was gonna be hard.
Yeah. Our personalities are both of us are we're all in. Like,
Yeah.
whenever we're doing something, if we're going to do it, we're all into doing it. And I knew that, and I knew how much it was going to be. So it's kind of similar. We don't have, I mean, we have some family around, but not, okay. My oldest was very particular as a child.
Yeah.
Like, she went with no one.
It's still
She's
like
still
that.
kind of particular.
Yeah.
Yeah, with people. So we can't just leave her with
Yeah.
anyone, even if I felt comfortable to. Her personality did not lend itself to that. My second, she's a little bit more, give
more
her some food and
extroverted.
she's fine.
Yeah.
But it was really difficult finding anyone to leave her. I mean, even working here, you guys know, like, it was so hard. And she was across the hall when I first started working here. I would like just peek in to make sure she was doing okay. So it's hard. I think it's hard with my mom not being here. I feel like that is really realistically the only person that I feel the most comfortable leaving both my girls with. And so she's not here. So we don't get a ton of that time.
Yeah.
But recently,
Yeah. What we do is like the last 30 minutes to an hour when she's done with work, we're both done with work. The girls are still in daycare. She'll come pick me up, and then we just have like a car date. You
Yep.
know, we just hang out and talk, and we might go get something to eat real quick, or go grocery shopping.
that's really
That's it.
That's really it. And then, I mean, we did one date night with y'all. You
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah,
was,
we
like,
did. That was epic.
radical. That was crazy. Yeah, so I mean, we're working on it, right? Like, I'm trying to loosen reins now that my oldest is vocal. Like, I can tell what's going on. I know, and like, even from other stories and stuff, I didn't have the best experiences like staying at other people's house and all that. So like, I'm very particular about that. But he's still my favorite person. Like, I don't like, if I have time, that's my favorite person. Our conversations are interrupted all day long.
All day.
But we have them. Like, we'll get through the conversation eventually. We'll see there. Our kids go to sleep late.
Yes, they go to sleep.
So we don't have that time. We don't have that
Yep.
8 to 10. We're exhausted. When they're down, we're down.
Everybody go to
Everybody's
sleep at the same
yeah.
time.
But yeah, so it is that. It's like, okay, how can I, steal a couple minutes here, steal a couple minutes here to check in. So like, if I go pick him up at 4:15, and that's 20 minutes that we can talk in the car about how our days went, and like the kids are not there. That's what we're doing right now.
Yep.
And then we talked about like trying to take maybe once a month or something.
Yeah, when your mom comes down, we go on a date. So maybe once a month,
Yeah.
we'll go on a good date and sit and talk and eat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but he's still gonna be my favorite person. I mean, I think something you said earlier, that you guys were in the car and you could just like be, like, I think that's us. And there are times now, because the girls are getting older, they're playing, and so like,
Yeah.
we're out at the back, and like they're playing and stuff, and we're just like,
yeah, it's gonna be all right.
it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
I just remember a single guy. He was single, so I got to admit this. He looked at me and he said, when you have kids, the kids have to be number one. You got to put everything else aside and focus on the kids. And I went, well, I know why you're single. And, because I think a lot of people try to do that, but I don't think that's functional, nor do I think it's healthy for the kids even. Because if they're the center of attention, they're going to expect in the relationship later on to be the center of attention, when marriage, and I'm going to say this, is not a 50-50 proposition. Marriage has to kind of be 100-100. And there are times when you can't put it all 100% in, but the other person then rises up. And it goes back and forth like that. And so I just think that sometimes, I think the reason we fight over kids is either the kids take over the marriage and become more important, or than the marriage itself. And we fight over money because that can do that. And there's all these things we fight over for that reason. And I just think you got to get it in the right perspective. And I do think it's a challenge when you're away from family, we were away from family, but we were only about 2 hours away from family. I could drive there and drop the boys off, and then Tina and I could go do what we needed to do. And either her mom and dad would watch them, or my mom and dad would watch them. Not everybody has that, even within 2 hours. And I do think that makes it harder when you're on your own. So, all right. So tell me the number one thing you would say to couples about marriage to build a healthy marriage. I didn't set you up for this, so you have to think quickly.
Well, I know the same thing I always say is from the beginning is choose right.
Yeah.
Take your time. Like I
It's
mean,
the biggest mistake or asset you will have in your life.
yeah. I mean that's the big thing. I mean, I think and I know some people meet somebody and it works out, like they get married 2 months later and it works out and they're married forever, but I just don't think that is like a common enough story. I think most commonly you get in, you have all these big feelings, you make huge decisions, and then you realize you didn't know the person that you got married to. And so for me, um, coming again, I mentioned this earlier, but like when we got back together, we like combed every question I think
Yep.
you could think of.
Yep. The book
Like
was 99 questions.
it was
That's how
99
many we
questions.
did,
And
plus
I
whatever.
took an Excel sheet and like we're
Yep.
gonna go through every single question and like
Yep.
really figure this out
Yep.
because I understood if I'm
I thought I took the
Yeah.
romantic out.
no, listen.
We were intentional here.
But can I tell you this? Our story was already romantic.
Yeah,
right? Like
we
the
had-
fact that we separated and
Came
went our
back.
separate ways and
Yeah.
came back through all of that. Like the romance is there. Like
Mhm.
I know I love this guy because 5 years went by and I never got him out of my head,
Mhm.
like ever. Like I dated other people in between.
Same.
And every person I date, I don't think you did the same, but
Mm.
every person that I dated, I was like, listen, my ex-boyfriend, his name is Phil. If he ever comes back, I need you to know this is done. Like literally had that conversation with every guy I dated. Every guy, of course, because ego, oh yeah, all right, ha ha ha. I'm gonna show you. But right, like I knew I had this feeling even when we broke up after college, like it really was, the long distance got
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
the long distance and I didn't want that. I wanted somebody there present. But it wasn't a like I don't like this dude anymore or I don't care about this dude. It wasn't that, right? It was just like practically I need more. I need somebody who is willing to be there for me here and you just weren't
No, it wasn't.
willing to do that
I
at that
wanted to.
point.
I was a young man. I wanted to go out and do what I needed to do in the world.
Which looking back at it ended up being the best thing, right? Like he needed to do that.
So let me ask you a question because I want to dig in this a little bit. You would then say to me that you would not have felt like you could accomplish what you guys have in your relationship if you had gotten married early, if this had been younger.
I think we would have been divorced.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because we didn't have the footing, the grounding, the foundation.
See, people are so different because I'm directly the opposite. Because Tina and I started dating when we were 16, got married when we were 21. And I feel like that was an advantage because we grew up together.
But you also were in church.
Yes.
We
I was
were.
going to say the same thing.
We were.
So-
You guys had
Yeah,
God.
a
at the
foundation.
both of- like the foundation, our foundation was completely off.
No, it was off. It was
Gotcha.
worldly. So it would
Yeah.
have just been like the rest of the world.
And
That
and
makes sense.
where I was so even when we met, I was so incredibly just unhealed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Very unhealthy. And I tell him this to this day, like he fell in love with me immediately. I know you didn't say that here.
I
but
mean,
you
I did. It was at the orange when you was getting orange
It
juice.
was
I
literally
said, I'm gonna make this woman love me.
Yes, he did.
That's what I did.
Yeah, it was the orange
It was the orange juice. I remember at the orange juice station.
And I knew that because like even as I'm watching, like I could watch myself being like, yo, I'm crazy. And this guy is like still here. Like
Yeah.
why? Like it didn't make sense to me why he was still around with how crazy I felt like I was.
Guys like crazy, I think, sometimes.
If they're cute enough, if the girl
If
is
they're
cute enough,
it's true. It's a scale, right? It's a scale, you know. The girl was gorgeous, so the crazy.
Yeah.
Scale
Yeah.
for hot,
Yeah.
for hot crazy.
Yeah.
Scales, you know?
but had we gotten married there, and the other thing is, I think we had a very codependent relationship
Yeah.
in college. Like there was no Phil over here, Max. It was
It
like
was like together,
it
like
was this.
yeah.
It was like it meshed, and so like I don't know. I mean, like, God can do anything that He wants to do,
Mhm.
right? So who knows?
For sure.
But I don't know that I would have been in an uncomfortable place enough to go seek God had I had the comfort of Him during those 5 years of growing up. That pushed me. Part of that, all of that, pushed me into God's arms, And then for you, you needed to grow up
I did.
without me.
I did.
There's stuff that he needed to do. There's stuff that I would have for sure slowed him down
Mhm.
because I needed the closeness all the time. I needed him around all of the time.
Mhm.
And I would have for sure slowed you down.
Indeed.
And so like that break needed to happen.
Because Tina and I dated since we were kids, my greatest terror in life is not being eaten by a bear or a shark or something like that. My greatest terror in life is ever having to date anybody else, because I have no idea. How that, because I haven't dated anybody but her since, we started dating steady when we were 18. I haven't dated anybody but her since then. And I have no idea. That it's terrible when I see people my age that because of a death of a spouse or divorce suddenly have to date again. That looks like the most horrifying thing on the planet to me, because I'm old, I'm used up, but I don't want to be alone. You know what I'm saying? What are you doing with this? Anyway, sorry. There's my mental issue.
So we two met when we were younger, and church foundation, all that kind of stuff was good. But there's also the other side to that of I've known her for almost half my life. I just turned 30. We met when I was 16, right? So for almost half my life. With that being said, there's a comfort there of what you're saying. We grew up together, but everybody changes from 16 to 30, right? So the person you started dating, the person that you married, you were in your teens, your 20s, and now entering our 30s together. There's that, it's not as dramatic as whiplash, but just life that changes you, right? And so the thing that I would recommend for couples in general is do your research, do your study, right? And what I mean by that is, like I said earlier, know the human that's sitting across from you, know that the way they think, the way their makeup is different, right? Two books that I would recommend. One, and I've recommended it on one of our previous episodes, was The Five Love Languages. Oh, yeah. Right, to just recognize the person that's in front of you. Some of their She's big into the what is it, the Enneagram stuff.
No,
And
not so much actually. But
when we dated, you were all
yeah,
about
not
it.
so much
Well, she
anymore.
was also a psychology major, so it was
Mhm.
fresh on
So
her mind.
yeah.
So she was always trying to get me to take all the tests. I was like, let's see who you are, let's see what you are, and I was like, it doesn't matter. And so, but I think it's super important to know some of those things about the person. Five love languages is one of them. Super easy to understand. The other one, we didn't get into this too much. Maybe we'll do a different episode. There is a Christian psychologist who wrote a book on marital sex. Right, talks about the psychology behind it, how you grew up in your parents' home shapes the way you think about it, how past traumas, all that kind of stuff. He gets into all that kind of stuff. It's called Sheet Music by Dr. Kevin Lehman. Yeah. SHEET. Sheet music. Yeah. It's so, and his whole thing is like when two married people who are healthy mentally can come together with the right mindset behind sex. He was like, you make sweet music together, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a good play on words and stuff, but it's also a really good read, and it's an easy book for couples to be able to read and talk about together. So those are two books with the general statement of study the person, whether you come together and you're, hey, we've been through college, been through this, and then we get together, or whether it's we grew up together, you still got to study each other.
You do. You have to understand each other's expectations. The whole conversation of marital sex that was in that book is probably a whole conversation that ought to be had, because they're to communicate to one another what my expectations, my desires, the whole thing. You've got to have that conversation. If you don't talk through that, that won't come out. That won't come out right. Is the best way for me to say that. And so then anyway, we won't go into that. Any resources you want to talk about?
What are the resources? I think I've talked about this on another podcast, but there was a book that I read this prior to being married, or even this was just like dating, but it was called Mingling of Souls. And it uses the Book of Song of Solomon's to walk through like what that looks like. And I think it was so helpful for me to have, coming from an unbiblical perspective, looking at it in a different lens and the way that like God would intend marriage to be. I think it was really helpful. And then we did the 99 questions asked before you get engaged.
Yeah.
Because I think yeah, the romance is there and all that blah blah, but romance is not what sustains the marriage. And so you have to come together and figure out, what does this actually look like. We were with a young girl, she's like 18 or 19, and she was asking like how do you do all this, like, you know, the kids and blah blah. And Phil was playing with the girls across the way, and I was like, you see that guy over there in the maroon shirt? That's how I do it. Like it's him. And I can tell you flat out, I would not have had children with anyone other than him. Right? Like I know the kind of man he was. I saw in him the kind of father he would be, even though we didn't have kids. Like I could tell there were certain qualities that were important for me. I didn't grow up with my like a father, right? And so like it was important to me that if I do this, it's with somebody that I know that's going to stay, with somebody that I know wants it, right? Not just assuming, oh, if I have a baby, then he'll stay around. Like, right? No, like no, know the person that you're going to choose to do life with. Um, and so I don't know. I want to say thank you because you're like a really good.
Oh, you
Really
make me
good.
cry, girl.
You are. I mean, everybody has their stuff, but like overall, like I just don't know. Like I, sorry y'all, but I don't know a better man than you, and like I've seen that growth also, and like when I tell you guys, like at 18, you're so much better than you were at 18, but you were still a really strong like man at 18, right? And like I think we talked about the potential versus whatever. Like he was already that, right? He just grew to be better, and that, and like God and all that stuff, and seeing you become a dad, like it's just been really cool to see. So thanks also for picking me.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for choosing me as well.
Going right back to the mush.
All right, let me wrap this up. And let me say this because I want to speak to people out there who have a misconception or a thought in your head about what Christian marriage is like and why it works or why it doesn't work or why you hate it. Most people look at Christian marriages and they see this dominant male and this subservient female, and they think that's what the church is after. That's not what the church is after. I need you to see in what's sitting right here. My wife is half Korean. You're looking at a mixed marriage here. You're looking at, honestly, a mixed marriage here. And so you're looking at that. You're looking at a marriage that was they got married when they were 30. You got early 20s here. I need you to see that all of that works together. It is not the dominant male with the subservient female. It is a teamwork. It is two coming together. God did not take the rib out of Adam's head so that Eve would be above him, or out of Adam's foot so that Eve would be underneath him. He took a rib at the side so they could walk together. And this is the goal. I remember years ago, the first time I ever went to a gathering of all the large church pastors inside our denomination. And I remember looking around the room and realizing every one of these guys, they have a formidable wife. And you should have been in that room. There were some formidable wives in that room. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I never thought about that. And then I turned and I looked at Tina and went, ooh, because I suddenly realized I had a formidable wife. I need you to understand that's true in every one of these situations. And the truth is, marriage is never one person dominating the other. Marriage is always two people taking a journey together from the time you're kids and you're dancing together and you have no idea what tomorrow's going to hold, all the way to the point that you're the old guy driving the RV, or you're walking down a beach together, or you're in North Carolina. You need to get to South Carolina. I just need to let you know that. But wherever it is, you're doing this together. Here's the final answer. In the end, it has to be this. No matter what comes at us, it's me and her against the whole world. And as long as I've got her by my side, as long as she's got me by her side, doesn't matter what life throws at us. We're going to make it through because God put us together.
All right. I want to thank every single one of you for joining us for this conversation. Pastor Mike, thank you for taking over. And Phil, Sylvana, I want to thank you all for coming on and joining us. Maxine, couldn't do this without you, so I want to say thank you. You guys can find us anywhere and everywhere. We're on all the social media stuff. Look, if you want to contact us, between Sundays at newlife.live is how you can do that. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know if these episodes are helpful to you. Let us know some topics that you might want us to cover in the future. Other than that, we love y'all. We'll see you next time. Live